Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. We talk Saints every single Thursday at 1:15 with our guy Luke Johnson from The Advocate. We do so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how are you?
My guy, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Any change in demeanor from the Saints' offensive players in interview sessions post-game and this week? That was better in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what they were kind of expecting from themselves all season. So we'll see if they can keep it going. I mean, that's really the big question here. The consistency has been probably the biggest problem the Saints offense has faced all season. But look, this is what we kind of thought they were. They were an explosive offense. They hit some really big plays, obviously with Rashid Shaheed. They ran the ball well. They actually functioned on third down and in the red zone. So they've got a really opportunistic moment here with the Bears coming in and a Vikings team that's kind of dealing with some turmoil up there coming up in the next 2 weeks. So we'll see if they can actually put it together.
What was the most impressive thing about the red zone execution? I have my answer, but I'm curious what yours is.
Well, I mean, look, 2 of those red zone touchdowns were, I think, from 15 yards out, right? 15-plus yards out. So, yeah, I think my answer, though, is that they used Taysom Hill in the red zone. Yeah, he's a really, really good player, generally speaking. But down there, I mean, he's such a huge weapon because he's such a physical runner. And on top of that, he knows how to set up his blocks. So it wasn't a surprise to me. They go 3 for 3 in the red zone, and 2 of those touchdowns are Taysom Hill touchdowns. I think they finally decided, hey, let's use our best guy down there.
I fully agree. That was exactly my answer. The offensive line improved the last 2 weeks. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. They gave up 17 sacks in their first 6 games. They've given up 2 in their last 2. So, yeah, obviously they're going to face some better pass rushing teams than the Colts and Jaguars, but I think that's really encouraging. I think it was encouraging that Josh Allen maybe had a bunch of pressures against them. The really talented Jacksonville pass rusher, but he didn't get home. And this is something that kind of plagued them all season, and really they're starting to get healthier. Looks like James Hurst is going to be back in the lineup. So again, we'll see. We'll see if they can keep this going, but it's a really positive trend right now.
I would tend to agree. Any chance that Montez Sweat provides any problems this week, as he's a new member of the Chicago Bears?
I mean, yeah, he's a pretty good player, but Chicago's pass rush was abysmal, and I don't know if just dropping one guy in there is going to solve their problems. He's definitely somebody you got to watch out for, but he's going to be a new player, a new scheme, picking it up in a matter of a couple days. I don't think it'd be surprising to me if he goes out there and absolutely wrecks the game. He's not that type of player, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. It's just they were the worst pass rush statistically in the NFL, and they kind of add one. You're just curious. But on the other side of the ball, they bring in a backup quarterback who played Division II last year. So the Saints have kind of given up a little bit more than they did for that historic stretch where they weren't allowing anybody to score 20. But are you at all concerned about the defense?
Not this week.
Yeah.
I think if they go out there and they give up 17 plus in the first half against this Bears offense, then yes, I'm really deeply concerned about this team. But I think it's not. I don't think you want to call it fluky what's happened the last couple of weeks. But it's been really, it's been this Jekyll and Hyde behavior with them, where they play really, really poorly for a half and then they turn it on. I think they've got such smart leadership in there that they're going to figure out what's kind of been plaguing them in the first halves of these games. But yeah, this week I'm fully expecting them to go out and just shut Tyson Bagent and the Bears offense out or down. They are not a very good offense, generally speaking, even with Justin Fields in there. And Justin Fields, I think, was maybe one of the guys who you're like, okay, he could be a problem for the Saints defense because of the way they've struggled against rushing quarterbacks. But when you're putting a undrafted rookie in against this defense, it has a lot of veteran players in it. Really smart defensive play caller in Dennis Allen. I think it's going to be a long day for those guys.
Any concern about Carl Granderson missing time?
No. He's been out there practice the last couple of days. I fully expect him to play on Sunday.
Foskey got back there and made a play, got called back for a forward pass, but was that surprising to you? It was shocking to me the consensus on him in August, and to see him out there actually making a play seemed positive to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is why you don't bail on on players after a couple games or even a season. Yeah, I think he was a guy that came in. Yeah, obviously, like he was, I think, a 5-year player at Notre Dame. He was a team captain, an older rookie. So a lot of times you're expecting those guys to, especially high draft picks, to contribute right away. But he had some growing to do at the NFL level. I mean, there was no doubt about that. He was really probably their 5th or maybe even 6th best defensive end in training camp. But he's obviously made some strides, and they're actually able to rely on him in key situations right now, which would have been a surprise in August. I don't know what he's going to turn into. I don't know if he'll ever play up to his second-round draft status, but I think it's been really encouraging that he's made some strides to get to the point where you can actually count on him in games at this point.
Luke Johnson's our guest, covers the Saints for The Advocate, with us every single Thursday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Were you expecting the Saints to do anything minor before the trade deadline?
I really wasn't. I went into Tuesday thinking, like, man, I'm going to have a day off because they're not going to do anything. And then a report comes out the next day that they were really in on talks with Hunter Renfrow, which I think would have made a lot of sense. He's a name that's kind of been connected to the Saints ever since Derek Carr came over here. But the salary thing, I think, was just a real legitimate problem in those negotiations. I think he's going to make like $13 million against the cap next year. So, I mean, that one would have made sense, but I don't think that, like, you look at this team right now, even though they're 4-4 and they have a lot of problems, I think their problems have been on, like, the execution and their talent not playing up to its level. It's not the talent itself. So I was really not surprised they didn't make any moves. And frankly, if they would have been in this boat 4-4, where they're looking like, maybe a playoff team, just because they're in a weak division, if they would have sold like future assets to go add somebody, I think that would have been kind of a questionable decision, especially if it's like something like the Bears paid for Montez Sweat, for instance. That would have been kind of crazy, in my opinion.
You think there's a market for Jamus Winston, or is that day past?
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing that one. Look, the guy's been a free agent 3 times, and has had really one legitimate suitor. I guess there was, after his first season starting, there was a report that maybe he was, there's potentially some interest from the Colts in him, but it's not like he's signed these big contracts here. So I wasn't really surprised there wasn't like a lot of movement on that, especially since the Saints know the value of a good backup quarterback. They've had to have one for the last 5 years. They've had something go wrong at that position. So you add that in with the fact that they've still got some dead money owed to him. They're going to have to pay him anyways if he's playing for another team next year. It didn't really make a lot of sense for me for them to potentially move him.
How do you handicap the NFC South right now, and how would you handicap it if the Saints were to beat the Bears at home and then go to Minnesota and beat a quarterbackless team to get to 6-4?
I mean, I still think the Saints, in my opinion, are the favorite to win this division. I think they clearly have the best quarterback, even if Derek Carr has had his struggles here in the first half of the season. And I really like their roster, generally speaking. I think all the other ones have legitimate problems. I was not sold on Desmond Ridder, and it appears the Falcons are also not sold on him. Taylor Heineke might give him a better chance to win on any given Sunday, but I still don't think he's like the answer there. And I certainly think the Bucs outplayed their talent level in the first, 6 games of the season. I don't really expect them to be like this big factor in the division race down the stretch. I could be wrong on that, but I think they just kind of felt fraudulent to me in the first couple of games of the season, even that win against the Saints. So to me, it's still going to come down to Saints Falcons in the end, and I still just like the Saints pieces a little bit better than Atlanta's.
Look, I mean, the Saints lose at home on Thursday night to Jacksonville. That's a pretty good team you lost to. Okay, I get it. The Bucs one was the one that was just kind of hard to figure out, and maybe made us overly negative about the future of this current team or the roster in moving forward. Is that fair to say? Because I've kind of dug my heels in. I threw dirt on this thing 3 weeks ago, and I'm not ready to just completely shovel themselves all the way out. But it just felt like that was the most unexplainable result. Even the Texans lost, it was tight. The Bucs one was so ugly.
Yeah. And I mean, look, you're going to have games like that every now and then in the NFL, but the fact that it came at home against a team that you've been competing with for the division title for the last however many years, that felt really bad. That felt like a low point of the season. And I'm with you on that. A lot of people, I think, gave up on the Saints after that. But, they are in a very favorable part of the schedule here. If they can not only get some wins, but get some convincing wins, yeah, I think maybe you can start thinking about this team a little bit different. They obviously got to go out and do it. They went out and did it last week. That was good to see from them. But, again, this is a team that has not, put 2 really good weeks back-to-back together. They have definitely not put 3 really good weeks back-to-back. So if they can do that, I'm going to feel really, really good about this team's chances. I don't know about future or whether this makes them a really legit threat in the playoffs. But it'll certainly make me feel a lot better about where they're at right now and definitely where they're standing in this division.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.